and welcome to the Haunted Minds Anthologies from the fucked up minds of the scrapbook universe. We're here to give you a full month of scary, spooky shit to keep your butthole tight. Stay with us, and we are gonna try to terrify you.
And welcome to the Haunted Minds Anthologies. This is Jody Pratt with my fellow host, Patrick Wigfall.
Yo.
And I want to call this Owl Sanctuary, but we can come up with a better name later on.
I believe in your name.
Well, I mean, it's an episode, so it's just like, Owl Sanctuary. You're like, what are that about? And
The second episode is like something different.
Fish sticks.
You're stupid.
The second episode is obviously it's all different, but yeah. So we'd open up with Diego Gomez and Cody Bell rock climbing. You know what I mean? They're novice. They're kind of asking each other questions like, I tie this here. And he's like, no, nigga, tie this there. They're kind of camping at the same time. You know what I mean?
So neither of them are like experts.
They're not extremely experienced, so they're just beginners, novice beginners. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But they've done it before. But that doesn't make you experienced. You just have done it before. You know what I mean? So they go, and maybe in the opening credits of the shit, they hear something, some rustling in the bushes or some shit, while one guy's at the top of the rocks, so we'll say Diego's climbing up the rope while Cody was at the top. He tethered the top, and Diego's following him, and he's climbing up there, and then Cody hears something behind him, and then he just falls. All Diego sees is his body pass him and hit the bottom, and then Diego soon drops from what height he was from, right? So let's say Diego drops from like maybe 20 feet.
That's a real far distance.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Back of that head is real sensitive.
But real decent if you actually work out any sort of amount, you can kind of save your ass if you know what I mean? If you can pull your core together and fall as a ball and not as a pancake. You know what I mean?
Not hit the lean the hands back and just it's nothing but me bracing myself to lose the back of my head.
Exactly. And Cody Bell, he for sure. Let's say that whole wall was like 50 feet.
There's no comeback from that.
Yeah. You could, but that's like very small instances niggas live. Well, let's just say he extremely labored breaths. Like it's about to be the end. Yeah, Cody Bell. You know what I mean? But you feel it, and then Diego like wakes up with this nigga Cody like in his face. He's like, "Oh shit!" You know what I mean? And we get a scare as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then he's like, "I'm gonna get help," and then he sees like his elbow's dislocated. Diego's is, and Cody's just mangled mess. Like that he's all.
So homeboy who wakes up to it has a
Diego has a dislocated, and Cody that woke him up by in his face.
Yeah,
he's all contorted and all fucked up. So he's like, I'm gonna get help. His arm's dangling and shit, and niggas looking for their satellite phone and shit to call. That shit smashed to bits. And so he just start to drag himself through the woods or whatever the fuck. I want to say this is, like Yosemite area, I guess.
That's like northern, or is that going further south?
Yosemite.
From here.
I think that's northern.
That seems about right. There's more greenery, more water.
Yeah. So they So Diego would go and try to find some help and shit like that. And he'd stumble upon like this wide like acreage farm. You know what I mean? And it's an owl sanctuary. Like out of fucking nowhere. You know what I mean? He's like, I need to... And limps all the way in there. And he finds an older woman. She's about 61 years old. Mildred Valson. Finds she's like, we need help. My friend's he's fucking, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh my God. And she stares at him, gazes deep into his fucking eyes, like somebody familiar. And she's just like, Carl? He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I need help. My name is Diego Gomez. I need help. My friend's just fallen off of a fucking face of the top of a rock. You know what I mean? Like, these niggas like stumbling through his words. He's like, I just need some fucking help. And she's like, and then she sees like, oh, this is a different person. We'll go into what she thought later on. Okay.
But she breaks out of it midway through.
Midway through, as he's stumbling through his words, and his panic is now in her. You know what I mean? You get a nigga telling you a story about how he got into a fight. You kind of get into
hit him
it
with this.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Then you start shadow boxing and shit. So Mildred, we go into her background as she's helping Diego. She gets onto her ATV, and he grabs onto her. She kind of slings him up. You know what I mean? Put a sling on him, and you know what I mean? Get on the back of the ATV. You tell me where to go, type of thing. But Mildred is 61 years old. She's the owner of this owl sanctuary. She's a widow, and also her son, whom she named, who's Carl, died under mysterious circumstances. Just that's found out throughout the episode, right? So she's on the ATV. They go and they find Cody, and Cody's just like tongue out, Shrek 3 in this bitch. You know what I mean? and Diego's like crying and shit like that, and he's just like, Cody, fuck, bro, Cody, nigga, like,
yeah, say shit. Just keep going.
Cody, bro, and then they bundle him up as best as they could in his clothes and shit. She tied some rope around this nigga, put her on the back of the ATV, and they got the fuck out of there, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, in 3 days' time, people are going to be here. You know what I mean? I sent out an email to the forestry service to come up here. We don't have any phones up here. The phones, you know what I mean, hardly work up here. I have to, get satellite, but I have, a computer, so I can send this shit through. Don't worry about it. Somebody will come for your friend. But you look so familiar, like, and then, some conversation happens, and she tells a story about how she's by herself and shit, how her son died and shit. Well, she says he's deeply missed. She doesn't go too far into it.
So you don't.
So you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your imagination kind of goes. But her husband died as well. You know what I mean?
And is there any mention of the husband dying?
That's what I just said. Her husband dying as well. That's what she said to him.
That's the focal point of what she's speaking about.
Exactly.
More than what the Carl nigga that she's talking about, which is her son.
Yeah, you find out who the fuck, how shit happened, but that's what she's talking about. How her son, and how she's a widow and shit like that, and her husband dying and shit. So, and she gives him like a tour of the shit just to get his mind off of the friend. The friend's in like this barn area, because she ain't gonna keep a dead ass body in the house,
Can't.
And so she's like, I have a barn owls, I have these owls and shit like that, and this is a safe place for them, and they're like my kids, ever since Carl died. There's been a big vacant hole in me, that these little guys, fill. You like, do you want to feed them? And he's like, sure. You're like, fuck, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she gets like, fucking mealworms and shit, and she just like does like this weird ass call, like, whoo. That's not weird, but
You're fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That weird ass call. Whoo.
And she does like a call, and you just see like the ground like shifting, like moving, and it's just a 50 or 60 barn owls just coming toward, like a herd coming towards it. They come out of these little holes out of the ground and shit. And she starts throwing all the worms in there and shit like that. They're pecking the motherfuckers off the ground and shit. And she was like, "Do you want to try?" And he's like, "No, I'm okay." He's like, "Just try." And he gets him, and he kind of holds on to it a little bit too long, and they peck his finger, and they don't draw blood, but they cut a few layers of the skin. He's like, "Hey," she's like, "Hey, be careful, Carl. They're gonna, you know what I mean? You gotta be safe." And he's just like, "There you go." He's just like, "So sorry. You remind me of him so much." Then the day kind of dies down, and then night comes. You can give him the blankets and shit, and set him by the fire. He's like, "You'll be fine here. My room is just down the hall. The bathroom's here. The kitchen's here. Then you can help me with my chores in the morning, Carl. Okay?" And he's just like,
again, Mexican.
"Yeah, okay." And he just answers because he's like, "I want to just rest my fucking head." So he goes to bed. He goes to bed while the fire's like whipping, licking the air, fucking really intense, and he wakes up from a nightmare of Cody falling again, but it was him falling now. You know what I mean? And seeing Cody's face like it spitting blood into his face, waking him up and shit. He's like, "Oh," and the fire's now embers, right? And he's like, "Oh, man, I need a glass of water." Anybody who has a fucking nightmare knows you need a glass of water,
apparently,
to soothe your soul. You know what I mean?
Just like every nigga gets hit by a car loses a shoe.
Yeah,
it's just how it goes.
Shoe totally popped off, nigga.
It did.
Yeah, totally popped off.
That's the fact. It wasn't tied enough.
That bitch was on. It was the G-force of that goddamn car hitting me off my bicycle. That bitch popped all the way off, and I
truly believe you couldn't get some of my fucking Vans off of me because they're cutting off my circulation.
Yeah, I believe me, when your shit go flinging and you land on your neck, them shoes will fucking fly, bro.
You're like, "How one shoe on?" You're like, "Nigga, you can't walk anymore. Why are we talking about this?"
So he starts to walk through the house and shit. He gets distracted, and he starts to peer at pictures on the walls and shit. It's just owls, her holding owls and shit like that. And then you see a picture of Carl, and he's like, "Whoa."
It looks like him?
It looks exactly like him.
That's what I'm saying, Joseph. That's what the fuck I'm saying, because I was thinking that and I didn't want to say shit.
Yeah. It's exactly, we're here, baby. We're here. It's a late night session, you know what I'm saying?
And we're going to make crazy evil tonight.
Amazingly like him. And he's like, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
He's like, "She took a picture with me?" Does he think that that's him initially?
No, he's just like, "Huh."
Kind of looks like me.
Yeah. And he's following the pictures as he's going, starting from the front to back, pictures of, at the beginning it was just her and the owls, and now it was the owls and her son, and then her owl's son and her husband. So the further you go down this hall, the later in years you go back in time and see more. You know what I mean? Them starting just this little bitty farm and them expanding and getting more owls and shit like that, right? And then he's just like...
But she was in the owls before her son passed or was killed?
Huh?
She was in the owls before her...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So the further you go in back into time, the beginnings of the owl sanctuary began.
Yeah, so she was already into that.
They were all into it. Yeah, everybody was. They opened it together.
Yeah.
Before he was even born, it was
not
her.
A crazed woman. It's somebody just.
It's somebody through. Exactly. Her husband and her opened that shit together. You know what I mean? It's a Valson owl sanctuary. Okay. So And he's like staring at this picture of her and her husband early on and shit like that. And she has like a black eye or some shit like that. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, and you see like this, her face is distorted in a way. You know what I mean? And he's just like, and he looks closer and he notices all the pictures of her and her husband is like, this isn't her husband's like face. It's like glued over somebody, you know what I mean? Like you cut out somebody's face and glue it over the actual face kind of thing. And he's looking closer and she's right there behind him. He's like, oh shit.
That scared me. That scared. You got me, bitch.
Right? And she's like, hey, what you doing? He's just like,
Does he drop it?
Shit. He drops his glass of water. You know what I mean? And she said, oh, I got it. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. He's just like, I'm sorry, I was just looking. She's like, no. You know what I mean? And then she like leaves the glass there, steps in the glass, she does. You know what I mean? And corrals him to the picture of her and Carl. Right? It's just like, this is my son.
Do you notice any blood?
I told you earlier.
Her sipping on the glass?
Yeah. We notice it, but she doesn't.
But she doesn't react to it.
She doesn't react to it. He, this is Carl. You know what I mean? I told you about him earlier. He was so smart. He was so, like, brave, But, as he grew up, he got a bit ornery. He wanted to leave his mama. Deep stared into this nigga's eyes. He's like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, where did he want to go? He was like...
Leans over and, like, shuts her jaw and, like, your mouth was open.
And he wanted to leave his mama, the way his...
Papa did?
No, but she didn't even finish that.
Ooh.
She didn't even finish it. And he just like, how did he, if you don't mind me asking, how did he die? And shit. And he was just like, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that, Carl.
And she's like looking away. She's not trying to like
face it.
Address what the fuck he just put in her face.
Yeah. And just like, if you need anything else, just tell me. You know what I mean? In the morning. I'll sit down.
So now she's dismissive.
Yeah.
Now she's trying to get away from the situation.
Exactly. Anything you need, you know what I mean? You can have it. I'll send another email in the morning, Okay? And then she's like, okay. He goes off the bed. Right? The next morning, they get up to do... She gets him up early. Mm-hmm. The windows are all open.
Okay.
And... Now, they're feeding all the owls. The ones that fly, you know what I mean? The ones that are grounded, all that shit. She's feeding them all, you know what I mean? And some of the food's in the barn. And she's like, nope, I got that. Don't worry about that. I'll go get it for us, and then you help me out, okay? And he's like, okay, cool. She goes in the barn and shit. She leaves out of there. Gives them the shit, and then they feed all the shit. Does everything. They feed them multiple times a day. Mm-hmm. And then they go feeding them multiple times a day. She's like, all right, you know what I mean? You hungry and shit? He's like, yeah, you know what I mean? I saw that, you know what I mean? The forestry, outpost isn't too far away from here. Maybe, you know what I mean? You can take me a ride on the ATV, you know what I mean? Because I hate to think that Cody's just sitting there, and his parents don't even know yet. And she's like, don't even worry about that. I promise you, they're coming. They're coming. You know what I mean? Cooks him up something. This was Carl's favorite. You'll love it. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, cool. And it was just some spaghetti. You know what I mean? No meatballs, just tomato sauce.
Nobody wants that. Let's be real.
Tomato sauce and fucking pasta. You know what I mean? And he's just like, oh, this is so good. Hella bland and shit. He's used to, chili con queso. You know what I mean? And you feel the anxiety in it. She stares a little bit too long while he's eating. And, like, he's trying to eat with his left hand. And he's, elbow on the table and shit like that. She's like, oh, let me help you. And, like, twirls it in the fork.
So she wants to, like, make him a child again.
Make him hers.
Yeah.
Make him Carl. You know what I mean? Like, here you go. Like, holds the bottom of his chin.
I can
do this. Yeah.
Dude, I guess.
Exactly, bro.
Say thank you. Thank you. I haven't been able to get, like, a full... And she's just looking at him with a dead stare. Like,
dead stare. Dead pan, just deep 61? In his eyes. 61 years old.
Scary.
Yeah.
She got that thin hair?
It's a full head of just thick gray hair.
Okay.
And at the
so you
end
see her in the backlight. It's not scary. It's just a woman?
Yeah.
Oh, she's got good thick hair. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But her eyes are vacant. There's nothing there. Nothing. Right?
Okay.
And the sun's still up. This is lunchtime, right? And he's like, I need to go check on Cody. Like, you know what I mean? I've had, nightmares and shit like that. I keep seeing him. I need to see him. And she's like, no, don't worry about that. He's fine. He's not going anywhere. And she's like, he kind of takes that, like, kind of scowls at that.
Like, how you mean that?
Yeah, exactly. And she's just like, I've been around a lot of that kind of thing. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, so how long have you guys been friends? He's like, we've been partners for about 4 years. She was like, pardon? What do you mean that? What do you mean by that? Like, that was my husband. And he's just like, she's like, yeah, what the fuck? You guys are, like, you laid, like, with a woman? Like that's how you guys lay together? And he's just like, oh, this is not she's old and she, you know what I mean? That's a bit of a side note. It's a hint. It's just a little something. It's not much. It's not the derivative of the story. It's not a main component of it, but you can tell where she lies in that argument. You know what I mean? Like, you bring up politics with your mom and she's just like, no, honey. Then you're like, okay, this isn't the rest of the day, but I know where you lie when it comes to debt forgiveness. You know what I mean? Like, shit like that. So
she gets real salty when niggas get over those that last bit of dinner. You know what I mean? The last bit of dinner will show you a lot about your family.
And they go out again and shit like that. His shirt is messy from the sauce, and she's like, let me,
get that for you.
Yeah, let me get that for you. No. Let me give you something to change into. Right?
Starts making him change in
to Carl's clothes, bro. He's like, this is his bedroom. You know what I mean? Nobody goes in here. Don't. You know what I mean?
Don't move anything.
Yeah, I'll be right back. And she kind of, like, squeezes herself through the opening of the door and, like, closes behind her, but doesn't close it all the way. Just kind of pushes it with her fingers. And you see, like, the room is exactly the same. He was about 20 years old, 22.
Dust?
It's dusty as fuck in there. You know what I mean? It's just closed all the time, And his bed is made pristine and shit. And she's just like, oh, here you go. Like, he's looking through the crack, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, what in the fuck is back here? And her eyes meet with him. Another jump scare. You know what I mean? And he's like, here you go. Like, and gives him.
No reason she should be looking at people.
Yeah.
No reason she should have been looking at that keyhole.
Yeah.
Outside of, like, a
crack in the door. Yeah.
A crack outside of, like, she knew he was doing it, or she wanted to see him before she saw him. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you ain't gonna catch me slipping, bro.
Keep your butthole tight.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So he's just like, oh, that pops him back. He changes into the shirt. She's like, I'm going to start over here, then you can start over there. Then in that break in time, he's like, I got to go see Cody. He goes into the barn, and you see Cody's body, right? And it's kind of like moving a little bit. And he's like, oh shit, like Cody's my fault, bro. Like, I didn't even know you were here. I mean, I didn't know you're still alive and shit like that. And then he pulls him over and he's been pecked. Half his face is gone. His organs have been pulled out and shit like that. And it's just a 20 or 30 barn owls and normal owls and shit like that feasting on his body, right? And then...
So them feasting is why it looked like he was moving.
Yes, absolutely. You know what I mean?
Fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful.
So he's like, what the fuck? And he's looking and there's like deep shadow beyond this shit. And she sees like two sets of skeletons. Like on the wall. Maybe not on the wall, but a skull on the wall. Or something like that, of that sort, right? And then...
What is it supposed to represent?
This doesn't represent anything. This is just...
It's just a part of it?
It unfolds a little later. Literally in the scene, right? Okay. And he's taking a step back like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And then she's standing right there. Right in the entrance of the barn. And she's like... Oh, Carl, you found, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want you to find this and it spooked you out and shit like that. And now you want to leave. Just like fucking Carl wanted to leave. She's
walking towards him while she's saying it, though.
Yeah. And now he's backing up. This startled another jump scare. And she's like, I didn't want you to find this because you'd want to leave like Carl tried to. And he's just like... killed Carl. He's like, what in the fuck is your problem, bitch? Like, he's like, every man wants to fucking leave me. Everybody. Why? You see all this? I built it myself. I have loving hands. I'm a nurturer.
And her hands are so with blood. Like they're
just like shaking. Exactly. A dirty ass fingernails. He doesn't notice these things because he's still in shock. He has a concussion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Concussion lasts a long time.
Exactly.
Depending on TJ if it's Grant. Not treated the correct way and like...
Even if it is treated
correctly. The severity of it.
Even if it is. TJ Grant can't fucking fight anymore. Remember that nigga? Old school. Chris Holdsworth got KO'd by Dillashaw. Can't fight anymore. Exactly, bro. Concussions can end your shit, even if it's treated exactly correctly. And I heard that he
kneed him in the back of the head. I heard it was like an illegal blow. It wasn't like a...
you can
regular shit. Yeah. I heard that it was like after the bell type shit of TJ being an asshole. Wow. That's what I heard from Uriah Faber and fucking Cody Garbrandt. You know what I'm saying?
And he's just like, what the fuck? He's like, everybody wants to fucking leave me. And you see who she is now. Just like after you get into a fight with somebody, their face kind of changes. You get into an argument with somebody, you're like, oh, your aura is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Her nails are long and gnarled, caked with dirt in there. Her face is just absent of life. You know what I mean? As well as sunken in cheeks. And the once thick gray hair that he swore to God she just fucking had is all thin and stringy and oily.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Right?
Oh, that's terrifying. I hate stringy hair.
Teeth missing and shit like that. Just yellow and brown in there. And she just...
Got a Patrick girl.
Yeah. Got a Jody girl. Right? And just like everybody like there. You know what I mean? Here, I had to bring my son because he wanted to become an engineer and never come back to me. And here's my husband that, you know what I mean? I thought he was the one.
And those are the people she has.
Exactly. The skulls are Carl and her husband.
Good on you, sir. That was
You feel
fucking
me?
awesome. I gotta step my shit up. That was fucking awesome.
So she's like, these are the. I thought I was in love with his father, but he felt like he can put his hands on me. He felt like I was beneath him, and he loved these fucking owls so much that he like, you know what I mean? He felt like he had to break my bones to keep me here, but we showed him. And then just like a whole bunch of owls, as you see, just like turn their fucking heads. They're all fucking, you know what I mean? They're just watching in the barn. Just like a wall of these motherfuckers. And he didn't notice this shit before. He was just, you know, when you have tunnel vision with shit, I have to see my friend. I have to do this. You don't even notice this shit. And then Carl wanted to become an engineer and leave me and wanted to go to UCLA and never come back here. You know what he told me the day he was going to leave? He told me I had to cut the cord. Huh? How do you say that to your mother? Why would you talk to your mother like that, Carl? Answer me, Carl! And Diego's like, bitch, I am not Carl, bro. And then she lunges at this nigga. And they're scrapping in there. The owls are fucking, the owls are fluttering in that bitch, bro. You know what I mean?
All over the place, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're dipping in and swooping. You know what I mean?
Are they scratching them?
They're scratching both of them.
They're working for neither.
They're working for neither, but they see like a disturbance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with the left hand, he throws a left hook, jars her, puts her right on her ass, right? Mildred right on her ass. She falls, braces herself. You know what I mean? Hands all the way back there.
I won't be hit again.
Yeah, she screams at the top of her fucking lungs, Patrick. She rolls to her stomach and starts to, you know, hands and knees run towards the door. And he doesn't notice that they tripped over Cody. So he runs forward trying to meet her. He falls over Cody and shit like that, right? Tries to brace himself with his dislocated elbow that she placed back in.
Falls right back into his face.
It dislocates it again. Arm goes, and you see it too. Pop! Goes a different way. He looks up, and she's holding a rifle, like, right at his face. And they just, like, meet eyes. And they just stare. And it feels like 20 minutes. It feels like years. Years and years, them just looking at each other. A whole fucking lifetime. Bah! You don't see it. You don't see it literally.
But you hear it.
But you hear it. You hear it, and then you fucking see that for that sound to go off, these owls know it's dinner time. And they flock into the barn.
So that's what you hear. Maybe it's a blast, and then you just hear...
Yeah, the flutter.
But like of hundreds of birds.
Yeah, they're swooping in there.
And there's a pecking order. It's not like they're all the same type of owl.
Yeah, exactly. So the big ass ones, they flock in there, and then you see the ones running on the ground and shit, coming out of their holes throughout the whole field that meets up to this barn.
You essentially have a flock of raptors.
Yeah, exactly. So as it pans out, right, and it follows, I want to say it pans out from the barn down this road as you see just thousands and thousands of fucking owls just flooding, like maybe hundreds of owls.
Hundreds, I mean? but like in droves where it looks like the ground is moving.
Exactly, right? And it goes to the entrance of the owl sanctuary, and it says... and it says, you know, Valson Owl Sanctuary condemned right across there.
I'm gonna step it up. I just want everybody to know that Jedediah has always been better at this.
I fucking know.
And so let's not step on toes like he got better. He's just always been good. Fuck him. And fuck this podcast. I'm done.
Fuck you, I'm out. I'm taking my mic too. Fuck you, fatty.
You just hear Hitler ripping.
I'm just like, you gotta unscrew it here. Don't fucking help. Fuck you. I want my cut.
Yeah, man. That was fire, man.
Yeah.
That's fire.
This is what.
Good on you, doggy.
Yeah.
Good on you, bro.
That's what I had right here.
You ugly son of a bitch. That's fire. And like the ending of it gives an unsettling feeling because that's the third nigga she's gonna string up now.
Plus, you know what I mean?
She's killed other people, but she cares about the nigga she strings up.
Exactly.
And
exactly. She cares about the people she strings up because Cody was just gonna get.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, she's gonna let them just. She's gonna walk over the bones until they like turn into like dust.
And maybe like the whole barnyard floor is just because it's condemned.
And what would be dope is that you get like a lot of feathers and like debris on the ground, and people are you're tripping.
Yeah.
Often through it. So,
yeah, you're crushing. Skull is underneath your foot, and some of it's calcified, some of it's dried out.
Damn stones.
Yeah,
and it's like that ain't a stone, baby girl.
And maybe as we're pulling out from the road that meets into her house, and it's just vehicles of like
niggas parked that went there and died and never got back to their vehicle.
Exactly. That tried to close this place, that tried to condemn it, that tried to, you know what I mean, and pulled in there, police officer cars, you know what I mean?
At the very end, fucking Gabby and Steven from fucking Final Inspection pull up. Hey, Gabby,
yes!
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. When you load a gun, when you get out the car.
Puede, motherfucker. No comprende, bitch.
No comprende, bitch, was the funniest shit.
Holy fuck. If they pull up and Gabby driving and Cuz driving in that bitch and they're just like locked and loaded, nigga.
It'd be funny because you would be like, why were y'all tripping on the Final Inspection so much? Like, y'all had done this before. But it could be like, they just had to arrest a old bitch.
Yeah.
Like, if you walk in and like, Steven is clearly a visual person.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, these are bones. And she's like, no, it's not. And then she moves with her foot and she's like, and then she go for a gun initially. And then Steven's just like, I'll go first. I'm doing too much.
Yeah, too much. Hey, but I like it though. Let's leave it just there. They pull up. Those two, Gabby and Steven come. They just pull up, and
okay.
and Gabby's back. She's like, "Fuck it. This is a calling."
For some reason, she's thicker. You're like, how did you get 4 more inches of ass?
We went on a cruise, and they heard. It's on the list because they heard the sanctuary was still going on. It was still had its doors open, although it's not supposed to. Although
exactly, and avian flu and all that good jazz would lead them there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did we just come up with Final Inspection?
Yeah. and let it open up as that, and we got Final Inspection 2 coming. This was Jody's episode. Patrick Wigfall as my host. Hey, we love you. Don't stop being creative.
And keep it spooky.
Keep it spooky, baby. Peace.